A police cruiser strikes a suspect and an officer. This was during an incident at a North York plaza. It happened this weekend. Full details just ahead.
Busy stretch of Lakeshore West Go is shut down for planned repairs. What riders need to know for the rest of the day.
And the TTC stands by its transit plan for the final World Series game, but admits it could have done better communicating with riders.
And after an outstanding, magical 2025 season, what's next for the Toronto Blue Jays following their World Series heartbreaking Game 7? We'll break it down.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Phil Perkins.
I'm Bakari Savage. Welcome to Live at 5. Well, the commute home, it may be a little bit more complicated for GO train riders today. This is due to service changes on the Lakeshore West line.
Yeah, for the details, let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan at Union Station. We talked about it all weekend long, but now it's actually happening. And what are people saying?
Yeah, there's a Blue Jays connection here, too. So we are in Union Station just as the evening rush is about to begin. It is getting busy in here. A lot of people looking at the board trying to figure out, okay, how do I get home now? They probably had some issues this morning, too. That's because all day long along the Lakeshore West line, no service between Oakville GO and Union Station for trains. That is for planned work. But it was planned work that was supposed to happen during the weekends. But that was disrupted because of the Jays playoff run. So they needed some extra time to get work done on the Etobicoke Creek Bridge. And so that means that a lot of travelers are having to rethink their plans for getting to work and back home again. So some special trains are running today between Mimico GO and Union Station. That's on a 30-minute schedule. Buses will run between Oakville and Clarkson GO to Arundel or Bramley GO. Extra trips on the Milton line have also been added for today, but not your typical day if you happen to use the Lakeshore West line. I've been talking to some travelers today. How are they figuring out this kind of Plan B situation? Have a listen.
The same thing again, I have to take the same way I came and go again. I wish we had prior information about what's going to happen. I only found out this morning, and it's quite difficult, So
yeah, what's this meant for your day?
I usually know how to come here every time, but now trying a different route is just totally different. So
we're scrambling last minute, trying to figure out. I'm lucky enough that another line comes fairly close to my house, so I'm not that far out of the way, but other colleagues are having to drive 15, 20, 30 minutes to another line to catch the train home or down to the office today and then back home tonight. For me, it was only about a 10-minute inconvenience, but I didn't learn about that inconvenience until about 7 o'clock this morning when I tuned into CP24.
So some of the other riders I'm talking to saying that, yeah, things aren't going on the same schedule that they're used to either. So they're having to make those adjustments as well. That one woman, Tracy, there, who happened to learn the news this morning from CP24, she passed the word on to a friend of hers. They were able to come up with a strategy to get to work together. Her friend telling me she was very grateful that her friend happened to be watching CP24 this morning to keep them on the loop on all of this. So when are things going to get back to normal? Well, we're hearing from Metrolinx is that tomorrow morning things should be up and running as usual. But you really want to check ahead just to make sure there are any other disruptions. That's kind of the advice that we're getting from Metrolinx at this time. Ideally, after all of this is done today, things will be back to usual. But yeah, having this happen on a Monday, not ideal for those people we're talking to here today. Back to you.
Absolutely. Hey, CP24 is appointment viewing, everybody. We will help get you to work and home. Thanks so much. Speaking of getting around, the TTC saying sorry for what it says is poor communication regarding transit service during Game 7 of the World Series. So
over the past few days, both the TTC and Metrolinx, they faced backlash for not extending service to accommodate fans after the historic game. For more on this, let's go live to CP24. It's Beatrice Vaisman. B, you were able to ask questions directly to TTC CEO Mandeep Lalli.
And he says hindsight is 2020, Bakari and Phil. Looking back, obviously communication is key, because if you don't tell people that, let's say during Game 7 of the World Series, that, hey, if you need the TTC, if there's a celebration and a win, we'll be there for you, because that was the plan. Service would be ramped up if needed. But if you don't tell anyone, how are they supposed to know? How are they supposed to make arrangements to actually ride the Red Rocket home, let's say at 3, 4, 5 in the morning in the event of a win, or the event that, there was something happening in the streets where service would have been needed to be ramped up. And so Mandeep Lally today saying, sorry for that poor communication. We'll do better. Listen.
Should we have communicated that we are running service and we have the ability to extend? Yes, we should have. So that would have helped, and that is something we've corrected as of yesterday, so to manage going forward. So everyone is clear what we are running, when we are running, and it's communicated.
And also, why wasn't there a plan just to keep it open all night long, like during New Year's Eve celebrations or Nuit Blanche, for example? There's some 45,000 people inside the Dome, another 20,000 at Scotiabank Arena, and tens of thousands of more people at bars and restaurants across the city and watch parties. So where was the communication? Well, the only communication that went out was an oops, it was wrong, a message initially from TTC's Twitter page saying, transit won't wait for the game to be over. Hurry up and get to your trains. That was amplified by the city saying, get to where you need to go. The last trains and buses are leaving within the hour, which of course left a big scramble. And some people were left stranded, especially those who relied on late night GO Transit service. And so here's a bit of what we heard from Councillor Josh Matlow, who was pretty ticked off by what happened.
We want Toronto to be a big city that acts like a big city, a grown-up city that's ready for the FIFA World Cup. A grown-up, big, world-class city that provides transit, maybe if we have a Raptors championship. Maybe I'm being too optimistic by suggesting that maybe one day we'll have a Stanley Cup championship. I hope so, although maybe Eglinton will be done before or after that'll happen, but I digress. So we also want to make sure that the communications are better.
As for Metrolinx, here's a statement from its spokesperson saying, let me be clear, we are in constant communication with the TTC at all times, but especially when major events are held in the city. Adding, we understand this was a challenging and frustrating weekend for everyone. We always learn lessons from historic events like this one, and we will apply them moving forward. But speculation and finger pointing are not the way to build public confidence on our regional transit system. Metrolinx spokesperson adding they did increase trains on the Lakeshore West Line, Kitchener Line, Barrie Line. The last ones left around 1 o'clock in the morning, jam-packed. After that, GO Transit passengers were left stranded. I can tell you a motion was passed unanimously here at TTC board meeting as well. That motion calls for better and more streamlined communication between TTC and Metrolinx and enhanced service when big events are happening, like maybe next year when the Blue Jays are back in the World Series. We'll have to wait and see. Back to you.
Or, in less than a year, Beatrice, the World Cup is coming to Toronto. Hundreds of thousands of people are coming to this city. They need to figure this out.
Get it together.
Game 7 of the World Series is just a tune-up. This is the World Cup. They need to figure it out. All right. Thanks so much. All right, let's talk about traffic. Adrian Siayabois. We talked about the World Cup coming here in less than a year. Is the city ready?
Is the city, that's a big question. I can't answer that definitively. No, they're not ready. Because traffic right now, if you're in a car and you're trying to get home, rush hour always a factor, but problems in the mix. So we'll deal with these issues impacting the drive on the westbound lanes of the Gardiner right through Jameson. Still there, long-standing. This has been there for over 2 hours. Now, I don't know what the holdup is, but the 2 left lanes are blocked. You do have the single right lane sort of getting by. I don't think any traffic's actually getting by at this point. Okay, they were slowing to take a look, but there is a lane getting by and the backlog is still there from well before Parliament. None of your travel take you up on the 401. A couple of problems as well. First, westbound 401 in the collectors, just as you make around the approach to Bayview, it is the left lane blocked to the collision that's actually on the Bullnose. Further west on the 401 as you head in the collectors, actually just through Avenue Road. It looks like it's impacting the collectors and the Express because the MTO crew is blocking the right lane of the Express. Everything in the collectors is off to the side. And taking a look at your drive on the northbound Don Valley Parkway, actually it's more busy on the southbound side as you make your way from just on the approach to Bayview Bloor down to the Richmond ramps. Those ramps are closed until next spring. It is for continued maintenance. I'll send it back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Thanks so much, Adriel. Okay, a warning. Some viewers might find the video in the next story disturbing. Toronto police are facing questions after a video circulating online shows a police cruiser rolling into a suspect and officer.
Yeah, the incident took place. This is in a parking lot near Jane Street, south of Eglinton, on Saturday. So police say that officers were dispatched following reports of a person armed with knives who was damaging cars. And the video shows an officer getting out of the driver's seat of the cruiser. The vehicle then rolls forward into the suspect, and then also one of the arresting officers. Both were assessed by paramedics. No serious injuries were reported. Toronto police are reviewing the circumstances of the incident. The Toronto Police Association released a statement which reads, quote, "Our members were responding to calls for a woman armed with knives causing damage to nearby vehicles. After deploying a taser, a struggle ensued as they attempted to take the suspect into custody. As another officer arrived to assist, the police vehicle rolled forward into the suspect and the arresting officers. Thankfully, our members were not seriously injured. The woman did not sustain any injuries from the police vehicle and was taken to hospital for the taser deployment." And for more, let's bring in CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan. Okay, so Steve, we've seen the video. Nobody was seriously hurt. So now what?
Context is important. In the video, what you see is the woman being tased, and when she hit the concrete or the pavement, you can hear a knife dropping. If you listen to the social media capturing this, you can hear the knife hit the ground. The officer pulling up is next to the suspect or the accused and the other officers and the weapon itself. That officer is responding to a dynamic, active situation. Certainly is something that can't be excusable, and the optics are awful, and it will be investigated for sure. But being somebody who has been involved in dynamic arrests where your adrenaline is pumping, it's fight or flight. And in the excitement, if you will, of this event, the officer did not appear to put the car in park. And then when they went to put the car in park or reverse the car, they put it in drive instead. So optics are bad, unexcusable, inexcusable. It will be investigated. But context, I get how this can happen when you are part of an arrest team. I get it.
And how much of it is also just, it's 2025. Everyone has a camera on their phone, and every little mistake, whether you're an officer, a firefighter, a plumber, it could all be documented now. Everyone makes mistakes.
Well, yeah, it's not a little mistake though. Let's be fair. This is a big
Someone
mistake.
could have died.
Somebody could have been seriously injured. The incident is serious. The actions or lack of action is very serious, and the investigation could result in discipline charges. But again, being somebody who was an officer who has been involved in trying to apprehend somebody with a weapon close, adrenaline is pumping, mistakes are made. It's not an excuse, but somebody like myself who can appreciate the context, you can kind of understand how it happened. It shouldn't have happened, and thankfully nobody was injured. But the officer will be penalized if, in fact, the investigation shows that there was some negligence.
Okay, so what's next? I mean, what exactly do they go through in an investigation like this?
Well, the chief will have an internal investigation. They'll look at that video for sure. That's very telling. Speak to the other officers involved, speak to the officer who was the one that did not put the car in park, and they'll make some sort of assessment. Is it a training issue? Or is it just one of those situations where arrests, things can go from 0 to 100 very quickly, and unless you're in that situation, it's hard to understand. But having said that, there's no excuse for what has happened. Again, but on the other side of that, I see how that could happen given the dynamics of the situation.
All right, CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan, thanks a lot.
All right.
It's 5:13, 10 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, a new poll shows most Ontarians believe that Labour Minister Piccini should step down after controversy over the province's Skills Development Fund. Welcome back. A new poll suggests the majority of Ontarians think Labour Minister David Piccini should be ousted from cabinet over the Skills Development Fund scandal.
Okay, for details, let's turn to CP24's Andrew Brennan. Andrew.
Yeah, so Bakari, Phil, the reason why, let's all go back very quickly to talk what this scandal is. So out of a $2.5 billion fund, the Skills Development Fund, at least $125 million, according to the Auditor General, was given to groups or those that were represented by lobbyists that had lobbied directly to the PC government. And in some cases, also having the criteria from the fund, however that is made up, ultimately they would have had lower scores on that criteria than other potential bids that maybe didn't get the money, but they still got, again, $125 million of those dollars. There's accusations, according to the opposition leader, that this is essentially being used like a friends and family slush fund. That's how Marit Stiles put it in Question Period today. In this clip you'll hear right now.
Ontario is in the middle of a jobs disaster. But meanwhile, this minister continues to use the Skills Development Fund as a friends and family special. So Scale Hospitality, lobbied for by Amin Massoudi, received $17 million from the Skills Development Fund under this minister. I'd like to know how many permanent jobs came out of that particular investment. I recognize the Minister of Labour.
Speaker, when the global pandemic hit, we introduced a fund which was designed simply to respond to getting people rapid training, to supporting employers with one goal and one goal in mind, to kickstart our economy. Since then, Speaker, we've implemented a number of measures, Speaker, to improve the strength of the program over the course of successive rounds, Speaker, after every round, responsive to employer, labor unions, responsive to working class Ontarian needs, to make sure we support them, Speaker.
Now, just one thing to mention of what Piccini was saying at the end about the jobs created and also the benefit here. There has been no one from the actual ministry that's been able to say definitively of the jobs created, if any of them were actually temporary, how many were actually permanent, and how many were actually part-time. So it does remain to be seen how much good this Skills Development Fund has actually done. The scandal continues, though, and also today, Bakari, Phil, we heard from the Ontario Liberal Party. They want an ethics investigation at Queen's Park to see if any potential legal or ethical lines could have been crossed here. Piccini has all the same maintained his innocence of any wrongdoing. Back to you both.
All right, Andrew Brennan, the newsroom. Thanks so much. It is 5:18, 10 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And coming up, Finance Minister Champagne laces up for Budget Day. This is with a shoe shopping stop in Quebec. Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne took part in the pre-budget tradition of selecting a new pair of shoes ahead of the big day.
Yeah, the Liberals' first fiscal update is almost a year. In almost a year, it will be a confidence vote, meaning that if it doesn't pass, the government will fall and there will be another election. The Liberals are 3 seats shy of a majority and will need votes from another party or some opposition MPs to abstain from the vote to pass the budget. Speaking to reporters today, Champagne says that he expects the opposition to support the budget.
This is a budget that talks to everyday Canadian, the workers that you've seen here, the member of our armed forces, the innovators, the entrepreneurs, the families in Canada. And that's the kind of budget we need to meet the moment. And tomorrow, as Canadians, will meet the moment. This is a unique moment in our nation's history. And we need to meet the moment. We're going to meet it together.
Interim NDP leader Don Davies said that his party would wait to see what's in the budget before deciding how to vote. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre said yesterday that he would be willing to support an affordable budget that would include eliminating the industrial carbon tax and lowering taxes on energy.
It's 5:21, 10 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, after a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking loss, the Jays now shift focus to the future. Big questions looming this offseason.
Well, the Blue Jays are now looking to the future. This is after falling short in their quest to capture another World Series title.
Yeah, for more on what's next for the team, CP24's Arda Zakarian. Arda, I don't even know if I'm ready to talk about this. It's just very sad. But yeah, so what are you seeing about the potential for the future? Who are they going to bring back? Who we might have to say goodbye to?
You know when you come back from vacation and you have all those good feelings and then the vacation's over and you're a little bit sad? Well, planning your next vacation is something that I do in order to get out of that sadness. So let's think ahead to get out of this sadness that we're in with the Blue Jays. Think ahead to the season that awaits us. March 26 is when it's opening day, and something that the Blue Jays were able to do for this past season was really build this amazing culture of community, bringing the city together, the country together, united, cheering for the Blue Jays, all of us, and really taking us on an incredible ride. It's not just the destination, it's the journey to get to the destination. And boy, did they give us a journey. Did they reinvigorate a love for baseball in all of us, a love for the Blue Jays. I'm sure that opening day on March the 26th is going to be packed, filled with people. But the question is that it's on everyone's mind. Can they replicate that amazing camaraderie, that brotherly love that they once had for this season, for the coming season? Here's more from Ryan Patton from SiriusXM on how the Blue Jays will look in 2026.
Free agency starts this week. There's a bunch of players on the team, a lot of pitchers. Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer, to name just two. Sir Anthony Dominguez. Shane Bieber as well has a player option for 2026. I don't think he'll exercise that, so he will be probably a free agent. So the pitching staff may look a lot different. As for the players, the biggest name is Bo Bichette. He doesn't have a contract for next season. He said after the game, and he maintained from day one, he wants to stay in Toronto. I'm not so sure that he will do that.
You know, it's okay to grieve, but don't grieve for too long, because the Blue Jays wouldn't want you to do that too. They need us in the stands cheering them on. But taking that moment of sadness, that is all right. That is something we need to do in order to get over it. But looking ahead to this next season, it's probably going to be an incredible one that is laying ahead of us in the future. Bakari and Phil, what do you think? Phil and I were talking about this earlier. They have like this amazing camaraderie between them. You know, this friendship. It's like more than a friendship. They actually love each other. What do you think it was about this team that really brought them together in this way? Something that we all have been saying we haven't seen in a team in such a long time.
I mean, yeah, go.
I mean, during the World Series, during media, availability, we heard from management that there was something special about this team, that, they put this team together with that in mind, and that bond has grown. Like, this is what we're seeing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, after talking to some of the players, the one thing they kept mentioning was their wives, how they were involved, how they were treated. Every decision made with this team, even the renovations that fans won't see, but they have a daycare in there, Arda. They have a 2-story climbing gym, treehouse for nap areas for the kids. The chartered flights for the wives to go to games. Like, it really is a family atmosphere, and I wonder if that translates. What they say. You're the only wife talking to us right now, Arda. Happy wife, happy life. And if the wife's happy, the house is happy, the players happy, they play well, they get along, the wives all get along as well. That seems to be something. But I put it out on Twitter. I need a deep dive, or one of these beat reporters do this for a living. How did this come about? I just looked on Twitter now, over 500,000 views. I don't know where that came from. I don't think I get paid from Elon Musk or anything, but I think it's something that a lot of people are asking, because, we got the Leafs, we got the Raptors. Their seasons all end, and I never hear them talk about something like this. And I just want to know what's going on.
What's the secret sauce?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. We have so many favorite moments as well from this entire season. We'll take that with us for sure, looking ahead to the next one. I mean, opening day, that's going to be a magical day in the city as well, for sure. What do you guys think?
Yeah, they'll be putting up banners. AL champions, AL East champions, not World Series champions, but Vlad is here for 14 more years. So he's kind of the magnet here. So see what happens.
All right.
Sure.
CP24's Arda Zakarian. It's 5:28, 10 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, we're live at Union Station, where commuters are adjusting their travel plans due to service disruptions on a busy stretch of the Lakeshore West Line. A police cruiser strikes a suspect and a fellow officer during an incident at a North York plaza this weekend. Full details and analysis coming up.
At a busy stretch of Lakeshore West Go, it's shut down for planned repairs. What riders need to know coming up.
And the TTC standing by its transit plan for the final World Series game, but admits it could have done better communicating with riders.
Well, the holiday season's around the corner. A massive Christmas tree has arrived at the Distillery District for the annual Winter Village.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Phil Perkins. Our top story, the TTC is apologizing. But first, let's talk about Go Transit. The commute home could be complicated for some people, especially if you didn't watch CP24 over the weekend or this morning. There are some service changes on the Lakeshore West Line.
And for this story, let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan at Union Station. Melissa.
Hey there, Bakari. Hey there, Phil. Okay, so we are in the throes of the evening rush right now at Union Station, just as there is an announcement being made on the loudspeaker explaining what's going on here for people using the Lakeshore West Line, who are having to come up with a different plan to get home. And a lot of these people, if they happen to use the same route getting in, they know what to expect here. So what's happening is that there's no GO train service today from Oakville Go to Union Station. It's for critical track work. They're doing some work to the Etobicoke Creek Bridge. Now, this kind of work normally done over the weekends, but those Blue Jays had those World Series games that were happening over the weekends, also those postseason games before that. So that has disrupted their schedule for doing a lot of this work. And that means a bit of a hangover today. They've had to include this weekday as part of their work time. So that means that travelers are having to come up with a different plan to get around. So what does this all mean? There are special trains going between Mimico Go and Union Station. That's happening on a 30-minute schedule. And certainly people that I've been talking to here, looking at the screens, checking to see when their trains are going, are seeing that things are not happening as usual. There are buses that are going to run between Oakville and Clarkson Go to Arundel and Bramley Go. And there are also some extra trips on the Milton line that have been added for today. But, you know, it's leaving a lot of travelers scrambling today, trying to figure out how they're going to get home. Some of them, again, might have experienced this in the morning because that was in effect as well. I want to share what some of the travelers are telling us. Have a listen.
I was surprised because I didn't check the schedule in advance, but I probably should have done that. But I'm on my way to Toronto. I go to UFT, so I was hoping to get there a little bit earlier, but I guess this is going to delay it by about an hour or so.
I was kind of disappointed. I'm not from here, so I'm trying to get back and forth from Union over to where I go to school and stuff. It's kind of a struggle.
Regular service is expected, by the way, tomorrow morning about 6 a.m. So it should all be cleared up, but kind of an unwelcome update that a lot of these travelers are having to deal with today. A rough start to the work week, I think, for those who use the Lakeshore West Line today. Phil and Bakari, back to you.
Okay, CP24's Melissa Duggan. Well, the TTC is apologizing for what it calls poor communication regarding transit service during Game 7 of the World Series.
Yeah, over the past few days, both the TTC and Metrolinx have faced backlash for not extending service to accommodate fans after the historic game. For more on this, let's go live to CP24's Beatrice Vaisman. Beatrice.
Phil, Bakari, the TTC says its plan for transit service well past 1 o'clock in the morning was good. It was in place. It was there if it needed to be, if the celebrations were happening after a World Series Game 7 win. The problem is they didn't tell anyone, so fans didn't actually know what the plan would be. It wasn't like New Year's Eve or Nuit Blanche where people know that they've got all night to use the TTC, that it's going to be running essentially 24/7. So people were kind of left making plan B, C, D, and for the poor communication, the president of the TTC is apologizing. Here's more from Mandeep Lally.
We ran the service that we communicated out that we were going to run. We had the mitigation plans in place in terms of should that we divert from that. We monitored that very, very closely. And if the situation had got in the emergency realms, we would have activated those plans. So in terms of we ran the service that we said we would run, which we had advertised. But I take your point on board in respect to we could have communicated more, and we will do going forward.
The problem was not only was communication poor about extended transit service if it was needed, communication was poor just on its face. Actually, a tweet went out by the TTC saying, yeah, we know the game is running late, but transit won't wait. That tweet was amplified by the city, adding that the last GO train would be leaving soon. That post made just after midnight, and that the last TTC train, the subway train, was leaving around 1:30 in the morning. It left people in a scramble. TTC Chair Jamal Meyer says he's not aware of anyone left stranded because of the TTC, but kind of pointed fingers at Metrolinx after that transit agency saw a lot of stranded passengers posting on social media, pretty upset about what was going on and facing backlash for not extending train service and the Up Express even later than 1 a.m. And so here's a bit of what we heard from TTC Chair Myers.
The TTC ran additional trains on lines 1 and 2, with the last train leaving Union at approximately 1:45 a.m. and 1:47 a.m., and on line 2 at 1:55 a.m. Blue Night buses and most downtown streetcar routes operated overnight as usual. In the event that the game went into overtime, the TTC was prepared to continue running subway service so that our customers could get home safely. As the game did not run past normal service, time, this plan was never activated. Overall, the TTC service that night was strong with minimal disruptions.
Again, Metrolink's facing a lot of backlash from some stranded passengers who also experience very crowded platforms. Here's what a spokesperson for Metrolink said. Let me be clear, we are in constant communication with the TTC at all times, but especially when major events are held in the city. We understand that this was a challenging and frustrating weekend for everyone. We always learn lessons from historic events like this one, and we will apply them moving forward. But speculation and finger pointing are not the way to build public confidence on our regional transit system. Keep in mind, again, the TTC saying it had a plan in place, but what good is that plan if people don't know that that plan is there at their disposal? Well, at City Hall today, there was the TTC board meeting. They passed a motion which will look at better service during late nights for once-in-a-lifetime, twice-in-a-lifetime events like the World Series, but also to improve communication between the TTC and Metrolinx and just in general. And as Phil pointed out, World Cup will be here next summer. You got to figure out transit to get people to where they need to go before and after games. Back to you guys.
Just doesn't make sense. New Year's Eve, they run subways all night long. World Series potentially bigger than that. Anyways, moving on, a pedestrian has been rushed to hospital after being struck by a vehicle in Mississauga.
It happened just before 3:30 this afternoon near Derry Road and Belshire Gate, which is just south of Highway 407. Peel police say that a vehicle hit a pedestrian in the area, sending the person to hospital with serious injuries. The driver involved is at the scene, and it is being investigated.
All right, let's check in on your commute right now. We know Lakeshore Westline is pretty tough. Traffic specialist, though, Adrian Tiriabo, how are roads for vehicles?
Oh, I just popped up because I was looking for problems piling up. Traffic not so good for vehicles, especially if you're on the Gardner trying to get out of the downtown core. Phil, been watching this long-standing problem through our Eyes West camera. So this is the westbound lanes of the Gardner right through Jameson. It's getting darker, so harder to see the situation, but you can see the flashing lights. It's the two left lanes that are out. Still have that right lane getting by, creating all sorts of backlogs from before Jarvis. And then on the 401, update to this problem, getting a little bit worse. Westbound on the 401 started in the collectors at Bayview. You will find the left lane and Bullnose blocked with this collision, and fire arrived on scene, and they're blocking the right lane in the express, so also impacting your go. Headed further west on the 401, my camera went out, but westbound 401 at Dixie, it is the right lane that's blocked out following a stall. And just checking out your drive on the eastbound 401, we had some problems on the approach to Renford or just past Dixie. It was a stall. It was in the express in the right lane. It cleared. Outside of camera view, problems I can't see. On the Gardner westbound, yeah, I said the Gardner westbound, Gardner at Cherry Street, we're dealing with a collision. It is in the right lane. I'll send it back to you both.
Okay, thanks, Aj.
You're welcome.
And a warning that some viewers may find the video in this next story disturbing.
Yeah, Toronto police are facing questions after video circulating online shows a police cruiser rolling into a suspect and officer. The incident took place in a parking lot near Jane, just south of Eglinton, on Saturday. Police say officers were dispatched following reports of a person armed with knives damaging cars. Video shows an officer exiting the driver's seat of a cruiser. The vehicle then rolls forward into the suspect and one of the arresting officers. Both are assessed by paramedics, and no serious injuries were reported. Toronto police are reviewing the circumstances of the incident. The Toronto Police Association releasing a statement. It reads, quote, "Our members were responding to calls for a woman armed with knives causing damage to nearby vehicles. After deploying a taser, a struggle ensued as they attempted to take the suspect into custody. As another officer arrived to assist, the police vehicle rolled forward into the suspect and the arresting officers. Thankfully, our members were not seriously injured. The woman did not sustain any injuries from the police vehicle and was taken to hospital for the taser deployment." To break this down, CP24 crime analyst Steve Ryan joining us in studio. You've been an officer. We talked about last half hour. It's tough to really put yourself in their shoes. You might be the only person in this building who's able to the adrenaline rush happening in a situation like that.
Yeah, that's right. Look, this is inexcusable. The optics are terrible. And there will be an investigation and perhaps even a discipline to that officer for what has transpired. But giving some context, it was a weapons call. The officer was rushing to get to that call to help. And you're in your car. You're no help in your car. So in a haste, in such excitement, with the intention of getting out as quickly as you can to help, you neglect to put your car in park. No excuse. I mean, there's a requirement on the Highway Traffic Act for every driver getting out of their vehicle, regardless. The car needs to be put into park. And then when that mistake was noticed, instead of reversing the car, because you're still in that same heightened excitement, the car was put into drive and then drove into or over an officer and the suspect. So should never have happened. The optics are awful. There will be lots of questions. There'll be an investigation done. But having been in that situation, I could understand how something like that could happen in the heat of that moment when there is so much danger and so much going on. And what it also shows is that police officers aren't robots. That in heightened situations where there is a threat of a weapon or there is a weapon and you've got a suspect who is not cooperating, they're people. They're not robots, and they make mistakes, and this clearly was a mistake.
And, okay, Steve, let's go back to one of the things that you mentioned, optics. This is making the rounds on social media. This, as we head into Crime Prevention Week, when there's there's a push to have more community interaction. So...
Yeah, well, this is not really community interaction.
But I mean, with the optics, in terms of what the community is going to be saying about this, and then trying to, get everyone to work together to prevent crime.
Sure. Well, you can look at this situation and you can twist that any way you want. The reality of it is, but the truth is, again, context. This happens in situations where officers are trying to make arrests. Let me take that back. Not that this happens. Situations happen that don't always go as they are planned. There was no malicious intent on behalf of the officer. The car ran over a police officer, and you can see the officer limping away, grabbing their leg, and they weren't pleased. You could hear on the social media that officer wasn't pleased at all. So this was a mistake. It was an accident. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured, according to what the police are saying. But it can happen because the police are just humans, and in the excitement, with the threat of a weapon, this happens. Should never have happened again, but there will be an investigation, and most likely there will be some sort of disciplinary action taken as a result.
Yeah, maybe to improve optics. Maybe there'll be a follow-up, and we'll hear what happened. We'll hear some accounts.
That's a good point. And there probably will be a follow-up for sure, because, again, optics and the community wants to know. People want to know what happened, what was the final outcome. So, yeah, that's a good point.
All right, CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan. Thanks, Steve.
You got it.
It's 5:44, 10 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, Ottawa challenging Stellantis over plans to move their Brampton vehicle production to Illinois.
Well, Premier Ford spoke to reporters today and was asked about Prime Minister Carney, saying that he advised him not to run the anti-tariff ad and that he apologized to President Trump after they aired. He says that his recollection of the conversation is different.
I'm just not going to go down that avenue. I'm not jumping into that bear trap. We have a great relationship. I'll tell you one thing, what he did do. He called me from Asia a couple times and said, pull the ad. And I said I wasn't going to do it until we're going to pause the ad on Monday. And that's exactly what we did. It was 12.4 billion impressions around the world. And they talked about it on the Senate floor. I love the fact that 4 Republicans jumped over and voted against tariffs on Canada. So they were very effective, and they ended up getting rejuvenating the talks.
President Donald Trump ended trade talks with Canada and threatened to increase tariffs by 10% because of that ad, which cost $75 million. Premier Ford pulled the ad last Monday after it aired during the first 2 games of the World Series.
Well, the federal government's launching a dispute resolution process against Stellantis over the automaker's plan to shift some production in Canada south of the border.
Let's focus on the facts. What's happening in Brampton at the Stellantis facility is completely unacceptable. Stellantis made a commitment, a promise, to invest in that plant, to invest in Canadian workers. And our government expects them to honor that promise, full stop.
Stellantis announced last month that it'll be moving Jeep Compass production from its Brampton plant to Illinois. That prompted threats of legal action from Ottawa. Industry Minister Melanie Joly says the process initiated today is aimed at recovering Canadian taxpayer money, returning production to the facility, and will be underpinned by government contracts with Stellantis.
It's 5:48, 10 degrees. This is Live at 5.
When we come back, Prince Harry coming to Toronto. Pretty brave after he rocked that Dodgers hat during the World Series. We'll be back with more.
Prince Harry is going to be in Toronto attending several engagements related to Remembrance Day.
And his office confirmed that he will be in town for 2 days, starting Wednesday, for a series of events supporting the Canadian Armed Forces and veteran community. Harry last visited Canada earlier this year for the Invictus Games. His visit to the city comes on the heels of some backlash after seen supporting the Dodgers in the World Series game against the Blue Jays.
Well, in the meantime, Prince William kicked off a visit to Rio de Janeiro today.
Yeah, he took a cable car up the famous Sugarloaf Mountain today, where he was presented with a key to the city of Rio by Rio's mayor. Prince William is in Brazil this week to promote his Earthshot Prize as a contest aimed at solving some of the world's major environmental challenges. He'll also attend the UN Climate Summit, COP30, as a representative of his father, the King, and the British government.
Well, in Jamaica, the death toll from Hurricane Melissa, it's gone up to nearly 30.
Many communities have been completely cut off. Homes, hospitals, businesses, and other buildings have been badly damaged or destroyed. Large parts of the country are still without electricity or phone service. Melissa was the most intense storm to make landfall in Jamaica in 90 years, with winds of 300 kilometers an hour. And several countries that have stepped up to help people who were displaced from their homes. The U.S. has sent over urban search and rescue teams from Virginia and California to help search for victims. The Canadian Red Cross has organized a shipment of relief items, including shelter kits, blankets, solar lamps, and mosquito nets.
It's 5:53, 10 degrees. This is Live at 5.
More today's top stories when we come back. Welcome back. The holiday season officially kicks off the city today with the arrival of the Distillery District Christmas tree.
This year's tree is a 55-foot silver fir. The tree was loaded onto a flatbed truck. It's going to be trimmed to perfection before being put into place by a crane. The annual tradition signals the countdown to the 2025 Distillery Winter Village, which opens November 13th.
So we've got Mervish coming back. We've got the Canadian Opera Company, Mendelssohn Choir, the Myriad Choir. We've got Katie and Toby doing Super Simple, which is a kids' YouTube channel, one of the largest in Canada. We've got story time with the elves every day at 1 o'clock. We've got Santa and the elves over at the Soul Pepper Theater doing a Narnia show this year. There's so much to do and see. And then, of course, all the food, right? We've got 47 outdoor vendors, 9 outdoor bars, flavors from all over Toronto. It's going to be fantastic.
Once the Distillery Winter Village wraps up, the tree will be taken down, will be taken to a local farm, and will be turned into mulch. You might be asking yourself, well, why does Habitat for Humanity need that? And it's going to be turned into mulch that we will then be using for landscaping, for gardening, as we build affordable homes in communities. So it's a really, really good feel-good story. People can feel like really good and inspired when they come in to visit the tree to know that we're going to put it to good use, frankly, in addressing one of the major challenges of our society, affordable housing. So it's just a really wonderful day for all of us.
Well, tickets for this year's Distillery Winter Village are now on sale.
I actually know people who have their Christmas tree up already. I kid you not. It's okay. More power to them. The Maple Leafs, disappointed the Blue Jays couldn't win the World Series. Guess what? We're all in the same boat. So Captain Canada himself, Sidney Crosby, also voiced his disappointment.
It was pulling for them, obviously, and we got in. I think it was 8th inning when we landed. So got the end of it, but you could just feel how bad everybody wanted to see them win, and it's too bad with the way it ended up. It was just, obviously anything happened Game 7, but it was such an easy team to root for. You could tell they were a tight group, and just the way they played and how everyone chipped in at different points. It was a lot of fun to follow that, and was hoping they'd find a way to pull it off. And unfortunately, did.
It's tough, but I mean they did an unbelievable job, and I thought they won it like 2-3 times that day or that game, so it was crazy. But they did an unbelievable job, and just battling, competing. Sucks to lose in Game 7, but I think they did a tremendous job.
All right, the Leafs host Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight, and to kick off a 4-game homestand puck drop is at 7:30.
And the Raptors, they are marking a milestone today.
Tonight, the Raptors' journey begins as pro basketball returns to Toronto.
Yeah, on this day, 1995, that the Raptors played their first ever game. They took on what was then the New Jersey Nets at the Sky Dome in front of 33,000 people. Alvin Robertson scored the team's very first basket, hitting a three-pointer to give Toronto the 3-0 lead. They went on to win their debut, but then lost the next 7 straight. And still, 2019 Raptors champions. Those are my champs.
It's 5:59, 10 degrees. This is Toronto's Breaking News, CP24.
Thanks for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.